We like to imagine that the founding moments of a nation are carved in certainty, that great men stood confidently, knowing the arc of history was bending toward them. But what if one of America's greatest minds wasn't confident at all? What if Benjamin Franklin, the man we quote endlessly, admire effortlessly, and mythologize relentlessly, left behind warnings so sharp, so unsettling, that they land harder now than they did in his own century? Warnings about freedom, warnings about power, warnings about comfort, warnings about us. Because Franklin didn't trust the future. He trusted tendencies, human tendencies, political tendencies, civilizational tendencies, and he believed that the very forces that make freedom flourish also make it fragile. Tonight, we're not retelling his biography. We're asking something far more uncomfortable. Was Benjamin Franklin right about us? And are we proving his fears true? It's the summer of 1787, and Philadelphia is choking under heavy air and heavier disagreements. Delegates argue for weeks, drafting the framework of a nation no one has ever seen before. In the middle of this storm sits Benjamin Franklin, elder statesman, scientist, printer, diplomat, mischief maker, and the only man in the room who has lived long enough to watch nations rise and collapse like weather. At 81 years old, Franklin is not the loudest voice in the room, but he is the one everyone turns to when the room fractures. One moment in particular reveals everything he believed and everything that worried him. The woman at the door. After the Constitution is signed, the delegates exit the hall. A local Philadelphia woman named Elizabeth Powell stops Franklin and asks, "Well, doctor, what have we got? A monarchy or a republic?" Franklin responds with the line that would become prophetic. "A republic, if you can keep it." It sounds like a quip, maybe even a joke. But Franklin rarely joked without meaning. That sentence hides 3 fears that shaped his entire worldview. Fears he repeated privately, in letters, in satire, in warnings disguised as humor. Fears that feel like they were written for our century. 1. Franklin's first warning: prosperity makes societies forget what created it. Franklin believed a simple, uncomfortable truth. People handle hardship better than they handle comfort. Hardship sharpens, comfort dissolves. He'd seen it himself. He watched the colonies struggle, improvise, sacrifice, unify, and become powerful because of it. But he also believed prosperity carries a kind of curse. The longer a society enjoys it, the less capable it becomes of protecting it. Franklin viewed this as almost a law of human behavior. People forget the price of freedom. They forget what fragility feels like. They forget what vigilance costs. And eventually, they assume the system just works. He wrote, "Only a virtuous people are capable of freedom. As nations grow corrupt and vicious, they have more need of masters." Not corrupt in the cinematic sense, but in the soft, subtle, everyday sense. Self-interest over common interest, short-term pleasure over long-term stability, comfort over responsibility. He worried prosperity would tempt the next generation into believing that the future is frictionless. Sound familiar? 2. Franklin's second warning: power doesn't corrupt immediately. It corrodes slowly. Franklin did not fear a dictator, at least not at first. He feared something less dramatic and more dangerous: drift. A slow accumulation of comfort, power, and centralization until a people wake up realizing they've handed away what earlier generations fought for. He believed human beings naturally gravitate toward systems that promise ease, even if that ease comes at the cost of autonomy. To Franklin, freedom was an effort, not a condition, and any effort sustained long enough grows tiring. He wrote, "Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety." A line endlessly quoted and rarely understood. Franklin wasn't attacking safety. He was warning that societies rarely trade liberty for catastrophes. They trade it for comfort. A little convenience here, a little protection there, a little power handed away, because it feels easier that way. Death by 1,000 small bargains. This is the corrosion he feared, erosion disguised as progress. 3. Franklin's third warning: public opinion is the real seat of power. Franklin feared kings, but he feared crowds more. He understood the psychology of mobs because he studied the psychology of individuals. He believed the mind was built for stories, not facts, for emotion, not logic. And he feared that the republic could fall not through invasion or tyranny, but through manipulation. He wrote, "When the people find they can vote themselves money, that will herald the end of the republic." Modern scholars debate whether he actually said this. But here's what we know. Franklin repeatedly warned that when self-interest becomes political currency, democracy becomes a marketplace of indulgence. The danger isn't corruption of leaders. It's corruption of the collective desire. His real fear wasn't that citizens would lose power. It's that they would use their power against themselves. A republic cannot survive the moment its people prioritize feeling good over being responsible. Because once you can persuade the public with comfort rather than virtue, freedom becomes negotiable. So, was Franklin right? Are we living in the very future he warned about? Let's ask the question the way he would. Not politically, but psychologically. Are we becoming a people who prefer comfort to responsibility? Are we slowly trading resilience for convenience? Are we drifting, not collapsing, into the patterns he predicted? Look around. Are we overwhelmed by prosperity? We live in the most comfortable era in human history, but also one of the most anxious. Franklin predicted that prosperity without vigilance breeds fragility, and fragility breeds fear. Are we corrosion without noticing? Bureaucracy grows, institutions bloat, systems expand in the name of ease, and the citizen becomes smaller inside the machine built to serve them, not from malice, but from drift. Exactly what Franklin feared. Are we becoming governed by impulse rather than virtue? Franklin believed a republic requires a certain kind of citizen, one who can restrain their desires long enough to protect the future. Today, the world is optimized for the opposite: impulse, speed, outrage, convenience, indulgence. Our tools amplify emotion over reflection. Our systems reward short-term gratification. Is this what Franklin meant when he warned that the people themselves could become the architects of their own undoing? Are we proving him right? Not through collapse, but through forgetfulness. Franklin believed the most dangerous threat to a republic is not tyranny, but amnesia. A forgetting of what freedom costs, a forgetting of what stability requires, a forgetting of how easily drift becomes destiny. And that's the unsettling twist. The greatest threat to any society isn't what stands against it, it's what stands inside it. Franklin didn't expect America, or any republic, to be perfect. He didn't expect stability to be automatic, and he didn't expect human beings to resist comfort forever. He understood human nature too well. Freedom, to him, was a battle against natural tendencies, not villains, against human shortcuts, against the gravitational pull of ease, against the subtle erosion of responsibility. But here's the part people forget. Franklin's warnings were not condemnations. They were instructions. He believed societies decline not because they are doomed, but because they stop paying attention. Prosperity is not a curse unless you stop asking what sustains it. Power is not corruptive unless you stop checking it. Freedom is not fragile unless you forget why it matters. Franklin's genius wasn't his inventions. It was his clarity. He wasn't asking future generations to be heroic. He was asking them to be awake. He believed that the antidote to drift is awareness. The antidote to corruption is virtue, not in the moralistic sense, but in the disciplined, mindful sense. The virtue of self-restraint, the virtue of humility, the virtue of long-term thinking in a short-term world. So let's return to his warning. A republic, if you can keep it. It was never a prediction of doom. It was a reminder. Nations are not kept by force. They are kept by character. They are kept by habits. They are kept by memory. Franklin believed freedom endures when people choose responsibility over ease, reflection over impulse, and common good over personal comfort. He believed the cycle can always be broken, but only by those who realize they're in one. So the real question is not whether Franklin was right about us. The real question is, are we willing to be the kind of people who prove him wrong? If you found this exploration insightful, give this video a like, share it with a friend, and subscribe to Timeless Questions channel for more deep dives into philosophy, history, and human nature. Because the questions may be ancient, but the wisdom is timeless.